We are back in the mountain in Chamonix, France, in the mountain with a really special guest. He's a true motorsport legend. He won the Dakar 5 times, not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 times, all the way from France. My good friend Cyril Despres.
Thank you for this introduction, Mr. Matthias. I really appreciate it.
It's going to be a beautiful podcast about French accent.
I don't know what you say, French accent. That's my one, sorry.
How sick was today? Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, I know a bit the mountain because I'm living in the Pyrenees for the last 20 years. But yeah, to bring you on these big mountains on the Alps, try to let you try the mountaineering ski. It was something special, yeah, definitely.
It was insane. So you can watch all the adventures from today on the vlog that just came out with that podcast. It was insane. We went on the mountain with your co-pilot from this year Dakar, Mike Horn, who's going to join us sooner than later or later than sooner. We never know with Mike.
No. Mike is just the last and the greatest adventurer in the world, let's say. The other adventurer and explorer say that, not only me. It's my co-pilot, my co-driver for the last Dakar. It was, but man, this guy, I've been doing everything on Earth, on the sea, on the ocean, in Amazon, everywhere.
He's insane. That's gonna be so nice to have his take on things for sure. But yeah, let's go back to you for a little while, Cyril. Totally motorcycle. Legend. Do you remember what was your first souvenir on a moto or like or something with an engine?
Well, yeah, and it was special because we meet a girl here in Chamonix, Cathy, and his brother was a professional trial rider back on the 80s, and he was French champion, doing the world championship also, and this is where the passion come to me. I started at 13 years old to ride a motorcycle for the first time, and as we say, when you love bike, it's for forever, for the whole life.
What was your first motorcycle? A trial bike?
Yeah, it was my really first one was a Fantic 80, a trial bike, which I bought with the money of my communion. I was 30 years old, and it's funny because I have still this bike. I found it back on close to Paris, and I bought it back and just make it brand new, and it's in a special room with some trophy at home, and really nice to remember.
So sick. And before winning 5 Dakar, it was not necessarily easy for you. Like, I mean, you didn't come pro like this. You come from a city called Nemours, I think.
Yes.
Like close to Paris, and I think you have a background as a bike mechanic.
Yeah.
What souvenirs do you have from this era?
Oh, well, watching all these guys on this region of Fontainebleau or Nemours, exactly, there's a lot of rocks. People are coming from everywhere in the world for climbing these big rocks, but also there's a community of trial rider. I begin to fall in love of the bikes, the motorbike, the trial, and when it was time for me to decide what to do during my life, I said, repairing bike, taking care about bike. It was. I feel that it was my way, and I have learned how to become a mechanic during 4 or 5 years working in Paris, because if you don't want to repair a moped on the region where I came from and you want to work and find a good job, you have to go to Paris, and this is what I've done. I stayed a few years after my studies in a motorcycle shop close to Bastille. You know a little bit of Bastille?
I know a little bit
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Bastille.
yeah.
This is why I live in Paris. This is pretty funny.
Yeah, yeah, and it's also good remember because it was actually Challenge 75, the name of the shop. It was the first off-road shop in Paris. And the shop was open in 1974, the year where I born. And a lot of good remember because, people are working hard actually in Paris, in all these big cities, but at that time many of them wanted to go outside of France and doing some desert race, doing some Dakar, some Tunisia rally, some Morocco rally. For them it was the escape time of their life, and basically in Paris they had a shop which can prepare their desert bike.
And you were preparing this bike
Yeah,
for them.
I was doing it for a few years, and this is where these guys, these clients, after work, coming back to see what kind of tire they want to choose, what kind of handlebar they want to choose, and then as I just learned about rally and Dakar inside the shop on inside Paris in the 11 arrondissement, and I never had any idea about desert. This was only stories I hear late on the workshop when the clients were coming.
Wow, that's crazy. You learn about Africa in the least expected place, Paris.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
And so, like, school was not really your thing. What did your parents wanted you to do, or like, did your parents let you do the bike mechanic thing?
Yeah, I mean, they give me a lot of trust. My parents divorced when I was young, and then I find this way, to go in flat out in this direction, saying, okay, this will be my life. I really feel it, and yeah, when I found this school to get the titles to have some learning of two wheels mechanic, not car at that time. Yeah, I really feel that this is for me. This on the first years, I really start to enjoy to go to school. Actually, from 5 to 13, I was not really a good school boy, but learning something which passionate you, it give me a lot of opportunities on the future.
That's crazy. It's been a common pattern to a lot of athletes that we've been interviewing so far. They kind of had a clear idea really young that what they found, it could be surfing or bikes or snowboarding. Yeah. What they found was what they wanted to do, like kind of straight away. It's what was the moment you thought, that's it, this is what I want to do?
The problem is how you can learn to become an athlete, how you can know exactly you will be the winner of the Dakar one day. It's impossible. Same for you, I guess. But there were no barrier, in front of me. And the biggest opportunity was my boss from the shop, motorcycle shop in Paris. He was doing some races, some rally, and in '97 he went to a rally and broke his shoulder. Get back to work, and then he could not take care of the workshop. And from a normal and simple mechanic, I became the workshop responsible of 3-4 mechanic at that time. I did the job for a few months, and just the mechanics were older than me, and I was giving the direction, I was giving the job, and And my boss really appreciated, and he appreciated so much that a few months later there were another race for him, which was planned, Tunisia Rally 98, but he could not take part. And he said, Cyril, you have done a great job. I can't race, but take my bike, take my tires, take my spare parts, and you just have to pay. It was 1,500 euro, and go to race your first race, your first rally. And it was the beginning of the second part of my passion with motorcycle, and the passion of the desert came from this Tunisia Rally 98.
What a sick boss! This
Yeah.
is amazing. It's crazy how a career can change on a little detail. He broke his shoulder, so you became the boss mechanic, and then like you had the opportunity to go to that rally. Did he know at that time that you had any skills on the motorcycle?
No. I mean, he was quite pissed because he have done races for 10 years maybe, not reaching even the top 30, top 35. And I went there for the first time and finished 13. And for him to see me and to give me this opportunity with his bike, a small bike, 400cc Honda, it was quite surprised, of the result. And I was not. I mean, I enjoy it so much that I say, oh, that's nice. I mean, I remember exactly one time we were in the south of Tunisia, full of big dunes, and then during the race, the time was running. It was a special stage, and it was so nice and it was so beautiful that on the top of a big dunes, like maybe 150 meters, I had to stop for a few seconds and to watch all around and to say, that's a place I want to be back as much as I can. And after a few seconds, well, I was in a race and I start again. But thanks for him. Thanks to him. Thanks. I can't even use some word to tell him what he bring at that time, and I'm still in contact. I was with him a few weeks before it was Dakar 2020, and he was there just for enjoying, just for watching. But yeah, we are always in contact.
This is awesome. This guy must be so proud of you.
Yeah, I think
this is so cool.
Yeah,
amazing. And so your first rally race, you get 13th place, kind of out of the blue. What was your feeling of thinking when you got 13th place? Were you like, this is a beginning of something?
Yeah, it was. I started at 13 as a trial rider because of passion of motorcycle, but competition was not really the most important. The most important at that time, it was how many hours I can spend on my motorcycle per week, when my parents agreed or not. And then I was trying to get hours and hours and hours. But suddenly, after this rally, I realized that the competition is inside me. And if I do 13 on my first rally raid, I can do better with a bit of training and more knowledge.
Of course, because you didn't train much for
No,
that.
not at all. I mean, the first time I ride a rally bike, it was in between Nation and Bastille, in the center of Paris.
There's not a lot of sand in between Nation and Bastille.
No, definitely. But, this is what I had. And I really discover the landscape, the camels, the palm tree, the dunes, everything I discovered inside during, every kilometer was, okay, I need to go fast. I need to find my way to navigate, but also it was completely new. I only saw these images on TV. And
was it your first trip to Africa?
It was first trip out of Europe, basically. I was not a rich guy coming with a big box and big bags of money and euro or French franc at that time. It was it was quite it was my biggest trip ever.
That's crazy. Let's come to that actually. Like let's check if Mike is on his way. Oh, no,
Not yet.
not yet. Let's come back to that a little bit because I feel like it's kind of necessary in motorsports. It's money and funding a trip, a race, a rally. Let's take Dakar as an example. You are telling me to fund a Dakar trip that it was between 800,000 and 1 million euro.
Yeah.
And then if you crash on the first thing, that's on the first special, that's that.
Yeah, the money is gone. Yeah, I mean, Thierry Sabine was a French guy, the guy which invents the race between Paris and Dakar. But he always said that it's a race, it's a proper race, but for amateurs, where the professionals are allowed to participate. And then years after years, it started to be more and more professional. This year was the 42 edition. And of course, it's a quite expensive sport, expensive adventure. You can find some small car, some small buggy, for 200,000 euro maybe. But at the level that I want to race now, it's really expensive. But back in the days, talking about Dakar, and especially after this first race, I wanted to take part. And it was kind of lucky because I had all 99, I had 12 months to try to find money to take part of my first Dakar. Because after my first race in Tunisia, I said, what is the next step? The next step is try to make the biggest rally ever on the world, the world toughest rally raid on the earth. And then from where I start? Do I need to go to the bank? Do I need to go to my parents? Where I could find this money to get in the race? And at that time it was 15,000 euro on a motorcycle.
So let's bring it back a little bit. 1999, you are still a bike mechanic at that shop. 15 grand to take part of that. It's a lot of money for a bike mechanic guy, and even more in the year 2000s. 15 grand was a lot of money back then. Still is a lot of money.
It was one year salary, basically.
How did you pull that one off? Because your first Dakar was 2000. Everyone knows that. So tell us, how did you find 15 grand?
It was funny, and now, especially after all my race career, it's a funny story, but it's a true story. We decided to take part of this race with a friend in the south of France, which could not find any sponsor. I didn't know how to find sponsors, but he had a good start because on his region there were some big wine maker. And one guy said, I won't give you money, but I can give you some bottle of wine to sell. And with the money, maybe it can help. And the idea came, and we say, look, it's 2000, Dakar. We have 12 months to get prepared for this race. People at the end of the year, they will make some present for their salary, present for the family and the friends, and we just decide to take this 2,000 bottle from this winemaker. We find another guy in Bordeaux, which have sell for nearly nothing, another 2,000 bottle of Bordeaux, and we went in Chablis, on close to Nemours, and we also buy a 2,000 bottle of Chablis. It was I had maybe 2,000 euro in my bank account at that time, but we spent all buying some boxes of 2,000 boxes each, and we had 6,000 bottles. We said we put 3 bottles on each box. We made a sticker. We put the sticker Paris to Dakar, tried to help Cyril Despres and Michel Go, and this was it. We said, when the 1,000 box will be sold, we will have 15 grand, and that was tough to sell it, because I was a good mechanic, but I was a really bad for selling wine, definitely. Yeah.
Oh my God! So at the end of, like, in December 2019, you made enough money to enter.
We just knocked on every single door around our small city. We went to every single company. We said, don't buy chocolate for your salary, for your workers. Help us buy boxes of wine, and my uncle and my aunt and my cousin and everybody from the family, they had to help us, and we sold it, and we get the money to pay the entry, to pay the flight from Paris to Dakar, because my first Dakar was starting in Dakar and crossing all Africa to finish in Cairo, in Egypt, close to the pyramid, and yeah, we make it to the start, and it was just a crazy amount of work, a crazy time to prepare the bike, because I prepare my bike, I prepare the bike of my friend. I mean, yeah, I remember all that work we put together, and then was because of passion, because of motivation, because we saw that everything is possible, and we wanted to be on the start line.
How French is that? Funding your first French Dakar by selling wine. There's nothing more French than that.
Frenchy.
Listen, guys, definitely what Cyril said. There is no limit to anything. Like, even though you don't have any money or whatever, there is always a way to make things happen, and is the best example of that. What, after like selling wine for a year and getting the bikes ready, and you arrive in Dakar, what was your exact feeling at the first special when you were on your bike ready for your first Dakar?
It was just amazing, because I was born in Paris, and I went as a small guy looking of this Gaston Rayet, Hubert Royol, all these famous names, Cyril Neveu. I was looking about this big truck, and I was 6, 7, 8 years old, and I saw all this caravan of vehicle going south on one direction to Dakar, but it was so far. It was just unbelievable, to see and to remember all the image that I get in my head. And finally, in 2000, I was on the start line. I was ready for it, and I didn't know if I could finish. I didn't know what will be the most difficult. I didn't know if my bike is prepared well, but I wanted only one thing. I wanted to see the pyramids. This was my goal. I didn't even want to say I want to be top 20, top 40, top. I was a pure amateur. I didn't have any assistant. We have a metal box with all my food and my tools, and when we arrive at night, we were fixing the bike by ourselves. And I remember exactly, because we had one box of metal each, by 1 meter by 50 centimeter and 60 centimeter, just a box, not more. They were a hammer, there were some screwdriver, there were my toothpaste, there were my spare socks, there were also a tent. But we said, okay, we will try to put a bit more of food and about some clothes, and we decided to take only one tent for each other. And the second mattress did not fit on the box, because I was a mechanic and I wanted to put a lot of tools, a lot of spare parts, and it was crazy, because it was 19 days of race, and we had one mattress for sleeping. We had 2 sleeping bags, but one mattress, and we said, look, every 2 days we change. But I remember exactly every single night that I didn't have uh, the mattress, and it was the turn of Michel, my friend. I was on the broken asphalt. I was on the rocks, and I just have a towel which I put on the bottom of the tent, and I was sleeping on the towel inside my sleeping bag. I had the back destroyed even after 1 week, and then I said, whatever, I want to see the pyramids. I want to see the end of this first Dakar.
Did you see the pyramids?
Yeah, of course I saw it, and honestly, my boss still, he was really impressed because I finished 16 overall. There were 180 bike, and I was the second on my class with a small engine for 400cc capacity. The top speed for me was 145 when the top guy was 180. But I make it. Yeah, I make it. My friend make it also in 32, I think.
Wow.
And it was another beginning for me.
Of course, because I guess you realize that you are talented at this, obviously, because your first Dakar, you finish it and then 16th place. It's crazy. Were you aware of the risk of riding a motorcycle during Paris Dakar at that time?
There were no fear. I mean, it was just pure adrenaline every single day. Doing 600, 700 kilometers per day and enjoying every single kilometers every day. I didn't know, I didn't even know it can be risky. I was not really physically prepared. I was a skinny guy at that time, and then I never went to the gym. But no, it was the passion. It was I wanted to discover more. I wanted to discover countries and people, and we went from Senegal to Burkina Faso, to Mali, to Niger. We jumped into Libya, and then Tunisia and Egypt. I mean, for a guy which work as a mechanic in the center of Paris, it was just like 10 years of holiday on 3 weeks.
It's great. It's exactly what I say to my friend. Even if I don't do well at a contest, they are like, "Oh, you are right. Sorry, you didn't do so well." And then I'm like, "But guys, I'm in Japan with my friends, like traveling the world. Like this is beautiful, Whatever it's whatever it takes to get there." And maybe for the guys who listen to that podcast and has no idea of what motorcycle and Dakar is, maybe walk us through how do you do a special with like the road book and everything? There is no GPS, right? Especially in 2000.
No, I mean the GPS are just helpful for the organization to make sure that you are not lost in the desert. The GPS send a signal to Paris, whatever Dakar in Africa, in South America, or like this year in Saudi Arabia. It sends a signal, and the organization can follow us. How it goes? For sure, we are not on asphalt. We are on the desert. We are going from the start line, kilometer 0, which is writing on a roll of paper, and it said for the next 2 kilometers, go on the main piste. It's bumpy, and the bearing is cap 162, and then you ride the 2 first kilometers like this, and you have another box at kilometer 2.1 which say leave the main piste in the direction of trees, and it's all designed on a roll of paper. And on the palm trees, watch out, there's a danger too, because there's a big hole. And then this is for another 3 kilometers. And then the next box, you have kilometer 5.1, and it goes like this with a roll of paper. One part of the roll, the beginning, is tape on an axle, and the end of the roll is on another axle. And on the handlebar, you have a little switch which actionates a little engine and just roll one axle and unroll the other axle. And as much as kilometer you are doing, you checked on your odometer, and you have to ride a bike, but you have to know where you go, which direction, if it's dangerous or not. And this is only with your finger making some impulse on this little switch, and unrolling and rolling, and you goes for basically 100 to 200 bucks like this. Some stages in Africa, the longest one was 850 kilometers, for example.
In one day?
In one day, yeah.
So it's like, it's crazy, like more than Paris, Marseille, but with a piece of paper and in the sand and doing like what, 130 on moto?
Yeah, now, I mean, 130 was the first Dakar. Actually, I was lucky to go on a professional team with some much faster bike, the BMW that I have the chance to ride on 2001. It was around 200 km per hour. It was
in the sand, 200 km.
Yeah, in the sand on the beach. This was different, but. One thing you have to realize is, like you said, Paris to Marseille, it's on the trails. It's not on the main road. It's not on the highway, and it's forbidden 3 months before the race to go and to try to have a look of the countries. This is the rules of the organization. That means you have to read the information, you have to find the good piste and the good direction, but you never know what you will be facing. Rocky, twisty, sandy, big dunes, soft sand, and you have to adapt your speed to don't crash your bike, to don't damage yourself, to don't get lost. It's a bit more than only turning the throttle and accelerating as much as you can. It's also Rally Red, it's riding as fast as you can without knowing the terrain and by reading some boxes on your road book.
Well put together. So 2001, you say you joined a professional team, and then 2005, that's the first year you won Dakar. What went into the preparation into winning Dakar?
It was I started to become more professional, trying to go. I had a trainer at home, a physical trainer. I had a mechanic at that time which was taking care about my bike. I can afford to pay a mechanic, and which was cleaning and preparing my training bike. This was a really a big step to have somebody like this. But
that was after your 2000 good score that someone said, "Hey, we want to help you."
Yeah, I was 2000 and 2001. I suffer only to find money for my first Dakar in 2000 and 2001. I already been on a professional team, BMW, and actually it was quite funny because there were 4 top rider international, and they were looking for what we called water boy. Means they were looking for a rider which can repair the bike during the stage if one of these 4 top guys had a problem.
Okay.
It's not really pejorative. The name is water boy. It's like this, and it was quite funny because the first day in Africa, in Morocco, one guy crashed. The second day, one guy hit a bird into his eyes and could not ride really properly. The 5th days, another guy have a few accidents, and then we arrive in the middle of the race, which we called the rest day. We have 1 day off. It was 8 days racing, 1 day off, and 8-day racing. And a German boss of BMW organized a briefing, and he said, look, we won't win the race. The top 4 guys, one was going back home. the third other professional rider, they were not really doing great, and they said, guys, we have to win special stage. And from that day, he said, there won't be any water boy. Now, Cyril, Jimmy, John, you have to go. You have to accelerate, and you have to win stages. And then my role was to stay on the back of these guys and watch for them in case they have a problem with their bike. And if I saw, and it happened, I saw one guy with a broken tire one day, and I had to stop. I had to take off my wheel to fit my wheel, brand new, on his bike. And I take his broken wheel and I manage to repair with a tube and keep going slowly to the finish. This is what we call water boy. But at that day, on the race day, they said no water boy anymore. It means I was allowed to overtake my teammate, and it took me 3 days to win my first stage. And from 2000 to 2001, in 1 year, I already win a stage, and I really remember exactly what the boss said to the press at that night. He said, we allowed everybody to go in front, and we allowed also Cyril to race for himself, because he said, you cannot throw gold into the ocean.
Wow.
And it was something special for me, that first victory.
Wow. So you won your first special the second year you entered Dakar.
Yeah.
And the first year professionally, because
exactly,
it's like the first year doesn't even count because you didn't have a good engine, and it was wow.
Yeah.
This is amazing. And then 2005, the first year you win Dakar, were you much prepared? Obviously not the water boy anymore. What was your mindset before the race in 2005?
But we have to get back a bit before the Dakar 2005. I enter on 2002 on another professional team with KTM, and this is where I realized that it's the passion bring me here, the passion bring me to the Dakar, but also I realized that it can be dangerous. We start a race in September 2004 with 4 guys onto the team we call KTM Gauloise, and one top guy which have been winning 3 times the Dakar. His name was Richard Sankt, a French guy, and he crashed bad onto this Pharaon rally in Egypt, and he died. It means we start the race together with 4 riders wearing the same clothes, the same sponsors, the same color, the same bike, and we became really friend. There were really good friendship between all the team, and having the feeling that when I was back to my place, to my home, we were only 3. One was missing. And at that time, with another top guy, which called Fabrizio Meoni, an Italian rider, really famous, which have been winning the Dakar 3 times also. We set a promise between him and me. We were the 2 fastest guys in the team, and we said, look, for Richard, in a few months, we have to fight like hell for this Dakar 2005, because we need to bring the victory on the team. And then another big drama happened. We were on the 11th January 2005, middle of the race. I was leading for the first time the Dakar. It was something huge, 5 years after my first participation. And then we arrived in Mauritania. I was leading the pack with Fabrizio, and then when somebody made a mistake of navigation, the guy behind, which have a clever decision and can pass, this is the rules inside the desert. You cannot fight with your elbow between guys and rider, but if you find a way, you go. And it was a few kilometers after the mid special, and I take the lead. I find a good piste, and Fabrizio were a bit wrong and came back behind me. And then basically, this was the last time I ever see him, because after a few kilometers, he was a bit on my dust and hit a bump and crash and also died. And it means it was tough. In just 3 months, I lost
Two teammates.
two teammates, which I realized that I'm not like in ocean. I'm not sailing a boat. I'm not in a mountain taking a risk into climbing Himalaya. But I'm facing the desert. I'm facing a natural element, and I get the respect for the desert at that time. And I decided to go and to keep going because I said I can't miss my promise. I was sad. I was 27 years old. I was crying every morning on my glasses, but I said I have to push myself and I need this victory. And it was really great victory, not because it's the first big trophy I had at home, but because I respect the promise that I have made with my teammates, and this was, it can be a tough life, but
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But you made it happen for your friends and for yourself. And guys, we have another guest that just came in. Hi.
And my other
hi,
teammate.
Mike, help yourself. Woohoo! Now the team is complete. Welcome. So happy to have you here. For those who live under a rock and who don't know who this handsome guy is, Mike is a professional adventurer.
Yeah, explorer.
Explorer.
Yeah.
And everything started in 1997, I think, and he was the first guy to complete a trip across the Amazonian River.
Yeah, I swam 7,000 kilometers. I had nothing to do, so I woke up one morning and said, why not swim 7,000 kilometers and live off nature? And so, I crossed the South American continent after spending some time in Manaus with the Brazilian Special Forces that taught me how to survive. And when I knew how to survive, all I needed to know is how to swim. And then, I climbed up to the source of the Amazon in Mount Mismi at close to 6,000 meters, and then followed the first drop of water all the way down for 7,000 kilometers to the Atlantic Ocean.
Whoa, this is insane. And then following like a bunch of insane trip, you come right at the right time. We were talking about Cyril first victory in Dakar in 2005, winning for Fabrizio Mioni and Carlos Sainz, his teammates and friend. And then it escalated quickly, like 2005, 7, 10, 12, 13, five-time Dakar champion. And then moved to cars. And then this year you guys did your first Dakar together. This is insane. Like how did that happen? What the idea came from, that an explorer that did basically like the craziest shit that you could ever do on Earth, and the best motorcycle driver that just went to a car comes together in a car. What happened?
Yeah, I think we all do crazy shit. We always look from our comfort zone into other sports, and that's when you realize that, wow, there's a lot of crazy shit out there. And I've followed Cyril for 20 years because I was always interested in motorsport, especially when it's off road, and that was quite interesting. I was on my way couple of weeks ago to cross the North Pole from Alaska to Spitsbergen. It was most probably one of the most difficult trips of my life, walking in complete darkness for more than 90 days over the ice at minus 40 degrees. And very close to the pole, I got a message via satellite. And the message just said, "You want to do the Dakar with me?" And it was... Cyril.
No way. No, this
exactly. No, that's all I can say. Red Bull. I've made a Red Bull off-road junior team to try to find in the future the fastest the driver on the planet, on Earth, for the US races, but also for the Dakar and all the races that you can find in Europe. And I was the idea was nice for me to after all these years to try to give something to the young guys and to give the experience to them. And then when they proposed me to be a coach, I said, I'll do it. And we have done 1 test, 2 tests with them, really young kids from US, 20 years, 22 years, 17 years old. But unfortunately, the youngest one, Seth, could not make it to the Dakar 2020. And then they say, you have to take the car. I said, whoa. I have to do something different, something special, because it was a small buggy, and a few minutes I said, if I want to compete with them as a coach, I need another coach, and if I am a technical coach or a Dakar coach, because I have a lot of knowledge, I have to find somebody which can coach them how to push your limit, how to go as far as you can, and there were only one word, one name, one guy. It's the crazy one on my side. Yeah,
Just, just to like give you some example of what Mike did for other athletes. Mike took the Indian cricket team that never won a world championship before, spent some time with them, and then they won the world cricket championship. Then he took the German soccer team before the World Cup in Brazil, went with them. I don't know what he did. He's going to explain us. And then
I said they better play, otherwise I kill them.
and then boom, like they won the World Cup in Brazil. What are you doing to these athletes?
Yeah, I think that, I studied sports psychology and sport injuries at university, so that's my job. But when I started doing extreme sport, it was just to be able to kind of find how far you can actually push yourself, and what does the words commitment and willpower and endurance really mean. And that's why I started with my expedition, swimming down the Amazon, and then Latitude Zero was unmotorized circumnavigation of the world along the equator. I knew that commitment meant that you're ready to dive, to do what you want to do, but that you're not doing it to die, you're doing it because that's what makes you feel alive. And playing football, you can lose or you can win, but you've got a next match. In what I do, I must win. So I've got no other option but winning. And if I don't believe in what I do, I'm not going to do it. And to bring that philosophy into a playing field and into the mind of these superstar football players and Indian cricket players and South African rugby players, is quite easy if you can be an example to them. And, it's always a little bit difficult to come from the world of extreme sport, like we all know, and then go into the world of organized sport where they play for a certain amount of time on a certain field and you have 70,000 spectators. For us, what I do, there's no spectators. So your heart's got to be at the right place. The moment you leave is the moment that you hit the Rubicon, that point of no return. Then you're alone. Now you've got to count on your knowledge, your experience, your commitment, and never give up. I can't give up. If I give up, I die. So imagine you can get that into the mind of a football player. So, it worked quite well, I think.
Imagine if at the end of a soccer game, the loser die.
Imagine how they will play. They will completely play differently. And then it doesn't matter how much they get paid either, So they're entertaining a lot of crowds and they get paid good money for that. And it's the world's biggest sport, but, commitment is something really different.
Should that be a new rule of soccer? If you don't win, you die. Okay, Mike Horn has a new rule, please, for the World Cup 2000.
But Matthias, tell me, he have explained you something in 2 minutes. Do you feel stronger now?
I feel stronger now. I do.
Yes,
It's insane.
and you will.
It's
I mean,
insane.
when you saw in his eyes when he's explaining something like that, you feel stronger. You will be stronger. You will be stronger tonight and the rest of
my
the
life.
year because you will keep it. You will keep this this sentence, and definitely this is why also translating on what happened to us. It was a new project. It was a junior team, really fresh, without a lot of experience. But this guy have win 6 special under 12, and we win 1. It means it work. This guy have the power to make it work.
Definitely.
Not really.
So-
It's like the guru, you know, coming like the smoke and like.
Because so that project, the Red Bull Junior off-road team, is to find new blood for Rally Raid, right? Because to give you a little perspective to the guys who listen, Rally Raid is getting a bit of a all guide sport. Not to be like pejorative, but there is not up a newcomers really. So the goal of that new project is to find the next best guy, the next Dakar winner, pretty much.
The problem at the moment is you need experience to face nature. You need to have experience to give much more than you think you can give. And getting Mike and myself into the project, they are winning months and years of experience. And this was the idea which they found on an office in Austria, in the Red Bull headquarters. But finally, they realized that it worked. It worked. The experience we have been saying to Mitch and Blade and their co-driver. I mean, they just get it and goes directly onto their blood and to their mind, to their heart, and it's nice also for us.
Oh, you stop making the mistakes that beginners make, and you take his experience on Cyril's experience of 20 years of Dakar, and you give it to them like on a platter. Then it's for the person that you give it to open his mind and to be able to take that and take ownership of that. And the moment you can take ownership of that, his experience becomes your experience. And the recipe of winning is there. He's giving his recipe that he had to learn and experience for 20 years to these young athletes. And that's why the project really works, because you can condense experience. And I was just there to tell the boys to stop crying and stop thinking you're tired. Just stand up, look the sun in the eyes, and go. Because if you're tired, the competitors next to you are tired as well. So who's the strongest? You know, and that's what we sometimes forget a lot in life, is that when we do competitive sport, the person next to you has experienced the same as you have experienced. And we think we only tired, but they just as tired. And the moment that you realize that if you do a little bit more than they can do, then you'll be ahead. That's the moment when you really take a big step ahead. It's not when everybody feels well. Then we all move at the same pace. But it's in the bad weather. It's in those difficult moments that you can make the difference.
So it's all of your guys' experience from 20 years of Dakar and from 23 years of doing the craziest expedition in the world that you give to these guys on the platter. Basically like a shortcut to success. Do you see it that way?
Of course, it's a shortcut. It's
a very big shortcut.
And you jump a generation of experience. So, you know, for them to come in and win 6 of the 12 stages goes to show that really the plan that Red Bull had by creating this junior team and taking old guys like us, especially with Cyril being one of the top Dakar legends in a way, and guiding them through every day, the rhythm that they must take, the way they should drive, the way that they should approach the last stage. Is you don't know it, you don't know what to do, and he tells you what to do, and you follow that, and then boom, magic happens.
It's great. Basically, so they have never done any Dakar before, or kind of have never like been to a sand dune before, and then like they win 6 specials.
Yeah, they have done great. I would say they did not get lost. We tell them, or I told them, these have been my choice for the tire. Follow it. The pressure of the tire. This is what we have found, and this is the good one. Follow it. This is the adjustment. The best adjustment for this car, for this condition, for this desert in Saudi. You have to get it. And every single technical aspect, they did not get lost because they were following us afterward, as you can imagine. And now you face him when he's saying something. They listen. And they listen and they get it quickly, and there were no complaint. They were just waiting for the next advice of Mike, you know, and we just make a perfect job altogether, because I was more about this race aspect and this technical aspect, and he was more into guys. We have make this stage like this. You beat us. Tomorrow we're gonna go stronger, but you have also to go stronger. And then they were only one way, you know. When Mike were getting a talk, in between 4 eyes, they were there, they were listening.
Oh yeah, when Mike is talking into your eyes, you're listening definitely. And like when he grabs your leg like really strongly, like you're definitely listening. So like, for you, Cyril, after winning 5 Dakar on a motorcycle, after being on a podium with the car, and you, Mike, with all these successful expedition, do you enjoy your own victory better, or like the victory of someone you taught?
Hugh, that's a difficult. I'm a competitor, and you know, when we gave our engine to the young guys to participate, which was Cyril's idea, first of all, I'm a competitor and I want to race, and I was a little bit disappointed, but then you get the enjoyment of them winning the race and the specials, and that's what life is all about. You know, we become old, and we've got to make space for the younger guys, and that is important in life. You know, to be able to not see them as competitors, but to see them as just an extension of your thoughts, an extension of who you are. And that's why I always find the good in people. I don't have to look at the stuff that's negative, because it's not building me, it's breaking me down. And if you can find the good in people, then you grow, even if you're not the one actually winning it. I never scored a goal in the World Cup or hit a run with a cricket bat, but I had as much enjoyment when Germany won, when Indian cricket team won, when South African rugby team won, when whatever team I coached, and the Red Bull team as well. I got so much enjoyment that at the end of the day, that enjoyment is a shared moment. When I reach the North Pole, or I climb to a summit of a mountain, it's a unique moment. And if it's not as shared as with a team, and those moments are quickly forgotten. So, you know, we keep on doing our expeditions. When I reach the North Pole and the South Pole and whatever, you're alone. There's nobody saying well done or you're alone.
And they say it's lonely at the top, and being from a sport that's so personal too, you know, BMX triathlon.
Yeah.
And I mean, I won a bunch of world titles or whatever, but at the end of the day, you're so lonely on that podium. But for me, when I share my experience to the new and up and coming kids, and hopefully they're gonna beat me in the next 2 years, this is what makes me alive. This is what my sport is all about.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm a big mate of old Tony Hawk and stuff like that. And for him, you know, it's an example of sharing his skateboard knowledge with the younger generation, his own kids and stuff like that. And he's a perfect example. You're a perfect example. Cyril's a perfect example. You know, in the world of what I do in exploration, because it's a little bit of a hard life to live, and it takes a lot of commitment and takes you away from home for very long periods of time. You know, I've slept 32 days in my own bed in 5 years. So
Wait, what?
32 days, yeah, not one after the other, but in 5 years I only spent 32 days at home.
So
that's
wow.
less, yeah.
Wow.
So
this is crazy.
Its house is hers. Is the world.
That's a crazy fact, and I thought like I was traveling a lot.
Yeah, you know, and well, obviously we travel on foot, and one expedition I did of circumnavigating the world above the Arctic Circle, I had to walk or ski across Siberia, Canada, Alaska, Greenland, and it took 808 days. That's 2 years and 3 months. You ski alone around the world, and obviously people ask you what you see because it's white and it's cold, but you see life. You see life, but you're not looking only through your eyes. You're looking through your heart, and you're looking through each muscle in your body, and you can taste life, you can smell life, you can see life, and that's what I love doing. I like being alive because one life only has 30,000 days to the age of 82. We can't waste one of those days. We have to use those days very, very selectively and carefully, and do as much as we can do with those little 30,000 days we have to live. And, you know, we guys like that, us, most probably will not live those 30,000 days. But, you know, we've got a choice of life. You can choose a life where you live close to the cliff. They say that life is a short life, but a broad life where you do a lot of things. And the moment you make the mistake, you're going to fall off the cliff and die. Or you can walk further away from the cliff. You know, that life is a narrow life and a long life. But that life's got no view. I want the view from the cliff. So I don't mind falling. And I'm not going to fall. So those choices in life we have to make. No matter what life you choose, all the lives are good. But when you decide to live your life, live it to the fullest of your capabilities.
My mind's fucking blown. Like I would honestly remember what you just said all my life, and so you guys, you should do it too. Like it's crazy.
You know, you will use it. I mean, if I was quite successful, let's say on my bike by my own during 15 Dakar participation, you know, I have a chance to read the book of Mike's, the books, and I have a chance once to meet him and to party with him also heavily.
That we do as well. Like,
Yeah.
like your last, his party should be like your last party.
But you know, it's not easy to say how much part of the trophy is mine. How much part of the trophy is belong to the team, to the mechanic, but there's for sure one part of each trophy I have at home which belong to Mike, because he give you this mind and this power to fight like hell when you are doing what you are loving to do. And there's a few piece of trophy. Maybe I have one totally. If I put all the small piece of trophy which belong to Mike,
there is a full trophy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
You know, I think as well, you know, it's it's in our world where you have to spend hours training and preparing and repeating, and you fall and you stand up, and you fall and you stand up. And then at the end of the day, you kind of think, where am I actually going with all of this? And that's at that moment that you're actually doing the right thing. That moment that you question yourself, because that means you've done the hard yards, you've worked hard, the input's been amazing, but maybe the output's not there yet. And you've got to really in life, if you can start loving the things that you hate doing, if you can love the things that you don't want to do, that's the moment that you can achieve. That's the moment that your life becomes broader. Your life becomes not only liking the things that you like doing and doing them, but liking everything that you do, the good and the bad. Shit, then you're walking down the right road. And that's where I love living. Love living when I start liking what I hate doing.
Isn't it like a relationship with a girl, when you have to embrace the whole picture?
Love and hate's very close to each other, and I unfortunately lost my wife that I was married 25 years to with cancer, and as an athlete, that she gave me the freedom to do what I did, and it's that relationship that you have with somebody that you really care for, and then you leave them. That moment you come back, you hate that moment you leave them, and the moment when you come back into their arms, that's the moment of love again. Those are the two extremes that we deal with every day of our life. And if you can deal with those extremes, then life will be a breeze. It will be easy.
Man, this is like the type of advice you give to these kids, Blade Hildebrand, Mitch Guthrie, Seth Quintero, these guys that are a part of the Red Bull off-road junior team. Do you think they'll be able to win Dakar? First of all, is the program continuing this year?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a program of 3 years. They will make a few races after Dakar, some US races, some Baja in Mexico, in Vegas to Reno. They will do some race also in Morocco, in Abu Dhabi. But yeah, it's a long program. I mean, Red Bull quite well. As much as I know them also, and then they have an idea. It's just not a stupid idea; it's a clever idea, and they will make it. They will make everything possible to be successful. And at the moment, we are just debriefing a bit technically about the vehicle, and but stories like Mike and what he's saying right now in a short period, in a few minutes, we have spent 17 days with these kids. Can you imagine the amount of tips from Mike, the amounts of knowledge technically they get from me? I mean, they will be quickly very successful. I'm pretty sure about it.
Yeah, it's insane. I've only spent only 24 hours with you, Mike, and with you, Cyril, and that has made so much impact already on me. And I feel like you guys could be like so so helpful to a lot of different athletes. Is it a reconversion, something you're thinking about for the future?
Well, definitely at my age, I must think of other shit to do, and I think Cyril's still got an amazing career as a driver, and he's got the experience. I would like to, help him a little bit as well by being his co-pilot, although I've got no value in the car. I'm there to cheer him on. And in all sports, we have this fear of losing. We have this fear of growing old. We have the fear of, as we grow up, not to be the best anymore. And, the fear of losing becomes quite dominant, but the moment that you can still have that will to win, that strong embedded will, the will that we have all at a young age to win, when the will to win becomes much bigger than the fear to lose, then you're going to still win. And at this stage, I still feel that I'm not afraid of losing, and the will to win is bigger than my fear that I have of losing. I'm going to still be out there. And I think with him as well, you can see his eyes, shine up, and you can see life coming back, because Cyril still has this will to win. He's not afraid of losing, because he's proved already that he can win. And that moment that will to win overpowers that fear to lose. Shit, there's trouble coming, then you create that determination. Like I told Cyril and the boys in the team, in life it's not all about motivation. I'm not motivated at -40 to get out of the tent and to pull a sled that weighs nearly 200 kgs and freeze my fingers and my toes, and you can't even have a piss outside, so your life completely changes and becomes uncomfortable. I'm not motivated to do that, but I'm disciplined. In life, if you have discipline, then there's a lot that you can do, because I get up 5 minutes before the alarm goes inside my tent on the Arctic Ocean every day, and that 5 minutes accumulated over 3 months made the expedition successful, because I arrived on the boat with 200 grams of food after a period of nearly 4 months. So that discipline that we need in life is more important than just motivation. Motivation is something that we all say, think positive, but think positive doesn't help you anyway. Think positive doesn't change your life. You've got to make a change, and that changes you can make when you're disciplined.
It's that relation between discipline and motivation, and like love and hate, and they are really close to each other.
The contrasts of life. You can only live life if you can live with the contrasts of it.
Definitely. You said that you cannot live a life if it's not full of contrasts, and Cyril had maybe something to like rebound.
Exactly. Coming back from the junior team or any young athletes, we are talking about contrast, and we prove that Mike is an explorer, but is an action sport, and I'm a motorsport. What about the contrast? We fit together on the car. We work really perfectly inside the team, and this brings us to a lot of possibilities, and in the clear future to say, how can we never put 10 young athletes from Red Bull, coming from snowboard, coming from motocross, coming from BMX flat or climbing and Formula One, and bringing all these kids together, and what we are giving to the two US kids, we could make it and make the contrast much bigger, and mixing all these guys to give all their experience of racing, of preparation, of there's a lot of stories which we are thinking at the moment, and
man, it's like for me my favorite day of the year. It's definitely not my birthday. It's the Red Bull Athlete Summit in France that Red Bull France organizes. It's basically a day where they invite all their athletes, which is 40, from all different disciplines. So we have motorsport with you. We have surfing with Justin Dupont. We have FMX with Tom Pages. We have BMX. We have skateboard. And for 3 days, we get to spend 3 days together doing workshop, doing, I don't know, like we went skydiving on the wind tunnel.
Yeah.
We did some karting. We did a bunch of different stuff. But most importantly, we shared tips. We shared experiences. And at the end of these 3 days, I'm so motivated, and these 3 days makes a lot of impact during my whole year. And I guess the idea to open that concept to a worldwide Red Bull summit would be absolutely incredible.
Yeah, we have to understand that we have to build bridges today, and bridges are easier to build than walls, and because when you have a bridge, you can have two-way communication, and that is quite important. We never used to really to use experiences of other sports because we thought it was so specific, so we kept it in closed circles. But now these circles must open up, and we must share experiences with each other, because that's where we all grow together, and we can become better in that manner. And that is why, for me, it's important not only to ski to the North Pole, but to climb mountains, to cross the Amazon jungle, to sail 15 times around the world, to do all the different elements that I've done as a extreme athlete for nearly 28 years, to taste each different element. And what I've noticed was, in all these different elements, you're still the same person. You still need the same courage. You still need the same determination. You still need the same focus. And that's why I believe that it doesn't matter what you do in life, we all resemble each other. We can look into the mirror and we can see who we are. But I can see part of you. I can see part of Cyril in me. I can see, you will see part of me in you. And Cyril see part of me in him. And that's the great thing about the Red Bull team. They have amazing individuals, but to be able to find what you're still missing in your makeup from other athletes will make you a better person.
Of course, and I think that's kind of one of the goal of that podcast and that vlog, is to find kind of a common pattern that every athlete have in common, and then open their eyes on how rewarding for them it would be to open their eyes and heart to other disciplines, to other communities, to other country. Because I feel like I've learned the most when I travel, and when I talk to someone I'm not supposed to talk to because he's so different from me, but this person brings me so much more experience than if I was just another day of training or whatever. And I feel like sharing is the future of being a professional, successful athlete.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say, also like me, we are, Mike, I can tell you, all these athletes summit, all these athletes, Red Bull around the world, we are proud to be part of the same family. We are proud to wear the same cap, to drink the same drink, and to share the trophy together, and to share the experience together. We are proud, to be part of this family. And let's think about the younger generation, to don't lose this proudness of this huge team all around the world.
Let's make a promise today, boys, and say that you guys gonna make this project happen, of bringing 10 Red Bull athletes or 100 Red Bull athletes or whatever, because you kind of did that project with the Atlantic project or on your boat.
Yeah, I did an amazing project with young people around the world. So I took two kids, young explorers, what we call them, or young adults from the 6 different continents. So I had North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, Australasia, where I build a boat to take these guys around the world and do adventure. And you put from all different nationalities, you mix them on the boat, and then all of a sudden you see, but we only one. We just live geographically in a different place, but we can feed off each other. And the moment you can feed off each other's energy is the moment that basically the impossible becomes possible, because you'll be supported. And if you surround yourself by like-minded people and by knowledgeable individuals that do it for the right reason, not only to, sometimes some situations are not as comfortable because the people that you work with are not doing it for the right reason, for the passion behind it, but just want more followers or more acknowledgement or whatever. That's not the right way to go. But to have the right-hearted people, then shit happens. And I was very fortunate to, for 4 years, take these young people around the world. And now I finished with that project, and why not do the next project? And that's what I think guys like all of us can make happen very quickly, because it's just kind of making a phone call and saying, listen guys, this is what we're doing, and then things happen.
We're all going on a trip and sharing experience, and that would be benefiting for so many athletes. And I feel like we live in an era where a lot of people are like ego tripped and self-centered because of social media.
Of course.
And me, the first, the shit I post on social media is super like ego-centered, and because I play the game of social media, people want to see like stuff of me, so I put stuff of me, but it's like stuff of me I put every day. And this is why I started to do this project. It's just like to put the highlight on some people I like, and not only me again. And I feel like a project like this would be like so good to kind of get out of this Instagram, social media bullshit or whatever.
I would say one thing I learned, one of everything I learned from Mike is he did not finish an adventure. He just start a new one. And I don't know how, if we can promise that we will do something, but we will try and we will make our best to make it happen.
But please, if you do it, have me a part of it.
What is quite interesting just on this topic, it's we all need heroes in our life. We all need icons, and my father was an icon to me, a hero, because he was a South African rugby player. And as a kid, I was walking down the street with him, and people would stop and say, wow, you played so well. And that made me feel proud of him. And imagine we all have that philosophy, that we can be proud. I love walking down the street or in the Dakar with Cyril, and the people come and say, wow, what you did on a bike was amazing, and what you do on your BMX is the shit. That builds me as a person, because I know you and I know Cyril. And my father, when he played his last rugby match, and he walked into the changing room, all the other players came to him and said, wow, what an amazing career. And as a young boy, I listened to what they had to say, and I felt proud of him. And when everybody moved away, I told my father, I want to be like you. And my father looked at me and he said, no, you can't be like me. And in a way, it disappointed me, that moment, because I wanted to be like him. And then 5 seconds later, he looked at me, he said, you're already much bigger than I was and will ever be. And at that moment, I believed him. He said, you cannot be me. You are who you are, and you will be bigger. At that moment, when you believe that,
you believe your dad.
You believe your dad. You believe your hero. You believe your icon. Things become possible. Every morning he went running. Every morning. 6 o'clock, from the age of 8 years old. Every morning I was awake and I went running with him. He never ran any slower. He was just running to train. And I had to run faster to keep up with him. Every day I put a mark on the road where I could not keep up with him. And every day I went running from 8 years old. I tried to beat that mark. When I was 13 years old, I could stay with him for the whole run. He asked me a question that day in the changing room when he played his last match. And he said, why do you think I go running every day? And I looked at him. I said, you go running because you want to be the best person that you can be. You want to be better than the competitors. You want to add value to your team. I knew why we needed to train. And he looked at me and said, that's only half the truth. I go running because you are awake. You inspire me to wake up every morning because I know you want to break the record that you set yesterday. And if I really inspired my father or not, doesn't really matter. But yet again, I believed in it. I believed that I was inspiring my hero. And that's the attitude that we all should have in life. Imagine the inspiration that we give to others and the inspiration we receive from others. It's not only us, the big heroes. No, the heroes are everywhere around us, surrounding us, waking up every morning to go to work. They do their own 8,000 meter peak every day like we do. And that's inspirational. So inspiration is a word that you can find everywhere. You inspire me. I inspire Cyril. Cyril inspires 100,000 other people. And I think the moment you understand that in life is the moment that you just know that there's no limits of inspiration.
Mic drop. Mic drop. Man, it's what more can you add? It's it's unbelievable, and it's something that every athlete needs to hear to be bigger. So let's hope to make that project happen, and
we'll work on it. Yeah,
definitely. And Red Bull could be a really good pattern to make this project happen.
There's for me, honestly, I've been on a few brands of car and bike and sponsors, but only one can make it. They inspire me. Red Bull inspire me, and Red Bull inspire a lot of young kids to get one day the chance to have this cap. To be proud of this family, and hope we can do some more years together.
That would be amazing to watch. Well, boys,
Thanks a lot, Ben.
That's a wrap.
Oh,
woohoo!
That's a wrap. That's the wrap.
Thanks for the inspirational words, and I'm so inspired. I hope you guys too. And see you on the next podcast. Now let's go party now.
Let's go party.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a million.
Cheers, guys.